Under this mountain of garbage sits $500 million. The man who lost it begged to dig for 10 years. He offered to buy the entire dump. The answer was still no, but the fortune rotting down there isn't gold. It isn't cash. It is a number, a row of digits anyone on Earth can copy for free. Yet today, this invisible money, all of it, everywhere, is worth more than the biggest bank on the planet. So how does a number you cannot even touch become worth $1 trillion? We're here to ask the simple question behind everything worth anything. Why money? Gold didn't become money because a king said so. It won a short, brutal checklist written by chemistry. Rare. Durable. No one's promise. Almost impossible to fake. Today, people call Bitcoin digital gold. That is a bold claim. So we are not taking it on faith. We are forcing it through gold's exact checklist, one rule at a time. Does it actually pass? Because pass or fail, that is the difference between a mountain of garbage and $500 million. Start with rarity. Gold is rare because of chemistry. There is only so much buried in the earth, and digging is slow. Bitcoin has no earth to dig. So how do you make a number rare? You write the limit into the rules. Bitcoin's code says there will only ever be 21 million coins, not 21,000,001. The cap is fixed, and new coins don't arrive all at once. They trickle in on a shrinking schedule. Watch the curve. It rises fast, then bends, then flattens, creeping toward a ceiling it can never cross. Today, more than 95% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist has already been created. The scarcity is real, but it's a different kind. Gold is limited by rock. Bitcoin is limited by math. And the way that ceiling gets enforced is almost strange enough to be a ritual. Every 4 years, the flow of new Bitcoin is cut exactly in half. They call it the halving. When Bitcoin began, the system released 50 new coins every 10 minutes. 4 years later, 25, then 12.5, then 6.25. After the most recent halving, in 2024, it dropped to just over 3 coins every 10 minutes. Each cut is automatic. No committee votes on it, no central bank decides. It's written in the code, and the code simply runs, like clockwork, on a schedule set for the next 100 years. Imagine the world's gold mines were forced, by law, to produce half as much every 4 years until they stopped. That is what Bitcoin does to itself, on purpose. That landfill is not even the famous story. The first thing anyone ever bought with this money was dinner. In 2010, when one coin was worth a fraction of a cent, a programmer in Florida posted an offer, 10,000 coins to anyone who would bring him 2 pizzas. Someone took the deal. The pizzas cost about $40. Those same 10,000 coins, a few years later, were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The most expensive dinner in history. Notice the trick. The pizza never changed. The coins never changed. What changed was the story we tell about the coins, and how many people came to believe it. And when belief grows that fast, any coin you spend or lose can quietly become a fortune. That is what lies buried in whales. Test 2. Durability. Gold passed because it never rusts. Drop a gold coin in the ocean. Pull it out a century later, bright as new. So how does a number do that? In one sense, Bitcoin is the most durable money ever made. It cannot rot, it cannot tarnish, it cannot burn in a fire or wash away in a flood. A digit is forever. But there's a catch, and it matters. A gold coin in a drawer needs nothing from the world. It just exists. Bitcoin only exists as long as the network exists, as long as computers, somewhere, keep running the system and keeping a copy of the records. Gold's durability is a fact of physics. Bitcoin's durability is a fact of participation. It lasts forever, as long as people keep the lights on. Test 3 is the one that makes people lean in. Gold is no one's promise. No government prints it, no company can default on it. Bitcoin was built to copy exactly that. There is no Bitcoin headquarters, no CEO, no central bank that can create more on a whim, and no office that can freeze your account or switch you off. The rules were set at the start, and from then on, no single person has been in charge. In fact, the person who invented it, who went by the name Satoshi Nakamoto, vanished in 2011 and has never been identified. Think about that. The founder of a trillion-dollar system walked away, and the system didn't even blink. It just kept running, because, like gold, it answers to no one. But that raises an obvious question. If no one is in charge, no boss, no head office, then who actually runs it? And the answer is the strangest part of the whole design. Everyone does, and no one does. Picture tens of thousands of computers in homes and warehouses all over the world, each running the same rulebook and each keeping the same records. There is no head office, because every one of them is a tiny piece of the head office. To change the rules, you would have to convince a majority of strangers across the planet to all change at once, people who have never met and don't trust each other. That sounds fragile. It's the opposite. There's nothing in the middle to capture, bribe, or shut down. The system has no heart to stop, so it just keeps beating. If you're enjoying this, a quick subscribe means you won't miss the next one. Now, back to it. That leaves the last test, and the hardest. Gold is hard to fake. You can weigh it, melt it, prove it's real. But Bitcoin is just numbers. What stops me from copying my coins and spending the same money twice? Here's the whole trick, simpler than it sounds. Imagine a notebook that lists every Bitcoin payment ever made. Now imagine that instead of one notebook locked in a bank, thousands of people each keep their own identical copy. Every time someone pays, it's shouted to the whole network, and everyone writes the same new line. So if I tried to spend a coin I already spent, thousands of copies would disagree. And the lie gets rejected on the spot. No master copy to hack, no notebook to steal. That shared public uneditable record has a name. People call it the blockchain. But one question still hangs. Who gets to write the next line in the notebook? And why should we trust them? This is where mining comes in, and it has nothing to do with pickaxes. To add the next page of payments, computers around the world race to solve a pointless, brutally hard math puzzle. It's a lottery. The first to crack it wins the right to write the next page, and is paid in new Bitcoin. That payment is exactly the trickle of new coins from the curve earlier. Now, why a pointless puzzle? Because solving it costs real money. Real electricity, real machines. To cheat, you'd have to outspend everyone honest all at once forever. The cost is the whole point. It makes lying more expensive than playing fair. Gold is protected by chemistry. Bitcoin is protected by cost. So let's add it up. Take gold's checklist and grade Bitcoin honestly. Rare? Yes, a hard cap of 21 million enforced by code. Durable? Yes, with an asterisk. It can't rot, but it needs the network alive. No owner? Yes. No government, no company, no off switch. Hard to fake? Yes. The shared ledger, defended by cost. On paper, Bitcoin passes the same 4 tests gold passed. That is exactly why people dared to call it digital gold. But, and this is the honest part, the hype skips. Passing a checklist on paper is not the same as being trusted for 5,000 years. Gold has the receipts. Bitcoin is barely 17 years old. So before we crown anything, we have to look at where the comparison breaks. Start with the biggest crack. The price doesn't sit still. Gold is famously calm. Its value drifts slowly over years. Bitcoin does this. In a single year it has doubled, then lost half, then doubled again. People have watched their savings swing by thousands of dollars in a single afternoon. So ask yourself, is that money or is that a bet? Money is supposed to be the steady thing you measure everything else against. A currency that can lose a third of its value in a month is hard to price a sandwich in. Defenders say this is just what a young asset looks like, that it'll calm down as it grows up. Critics say wild swings are the sign of a thing driven by hope and fear, not steady use. Both point at the same chart. The chart doesn't settle it. And that question, money or a bet, isn't just talk. A country actually tried to settle it. In 2021, El Salvador made Bitcoin official money. Every shop was meant to take it, like cash. The dream was simple. Skip the banks. Let anyone pay with a phone. But here's what happened. Most people barely used it. Prices still lived in dollars. Wages still came in dollars. Why? Because nobody wants to spend a coin today that might be worth more tomorrow. And nobody wants to be paid in something that might be worth less by Friday. By 2025, under pressure, the country rolled the law back. The lesson is sharp. Something can be brilliant to hold and still be clumsy to spend. And money has to be both. Then there's the energy. All those computers racing to solve puzzles burn a real amount of electricity. By recent estimates, about as much in a year as a small to mid-sized country. Supporters argue much of it can run on power that would otherwise be wasted, and that mining gold and running banks burn plenty of energy too. Critics ask the blunt question, is the result worth the cost? There's no tidy answer here, only a real trade-off you should know about. A money with no government and no bank still isn't free. It's paid for in electricity, instead of in trust. Gold costs us torn up earth. The dollar costs us faith in a state. Bitcoin costs us power off the grid. Nothing that becomes money is ever truly without a price. And then the deepest worry of all. Gold has been valued for 5,000 years across every culture on Earth. Bitcoin's entire life fits inside a single childhood, barely 17 years. It has never lived through a world war, never survived a century of doubt. Its value rests on one fragile thing, that the next person will also believe in it, which sounds damning until you remember something uncomfortable. The same is true of the dollar in your pocket. It too is only worth what the next person will give you for it. The difference isn't belief versus no belief. Every money is belief. The difference is only how old the belief is, and how many storms it has already survived. Gold has survived all of them. Bitcoin hasn't survived one. Not yet. So step all the way back and a pattern appears across all three of our stories. Value was never inside the thing. Not the gold, not the paper, not the code. Value is just a society agreeing to trust something scarce and hard to fake. And look at the three different roads to that same trust. Gold earned it through chemistry. The laws of physics chose it, and every civilization agreed. The dollar earned it through the state. A powerful government stood behind it and said, this counts. And Bitcoin is trying to earn it through math, through code that no king and no bank controls. Three roads: chemistry, power, and math. The same human need, something a stranger will accept tomorrow, solved three completely different ways. So, is Bitcoin worth anything? Here's the honest answer. It is worth exactly what gold is worth and what the dollar is worth. Whatever we collectively agree it is. The only difference is how old the agreement is. Gold's agreement has outlived every empire that tested it. The dollar's is backed by the most powerful state on Earth. Bitcoin's is barely 17 years young. Built on belief in the math, and the bet that strangers keep believing tomorrow. It has passed gold's checklist on paper. Whether it can pass the only test that truly matters, the test of time, no one yet knows. But it proves one unsettling thing. If we can agree a row of digits is worth a fortune, then maybe value was never about the thing at all. Maybe it was only ever the story, and how many people believe it. So here's the next question. Why are diamonds so expensive? If you like this one, hit like and subscribe. Got a topic you want us to decode? Drop it in the comments. We're here to answer the simple question behind everything. Why money?